Sup folks, welcome to the part 7 of What If Deku Get Reborn as a Vampire, chapter 42. Okay, shit, here we go. He's right there. He's walking into his hero agency. Hey there, says Izuku, I've actually wanted to meet you for a while now. I try to make time for my fans but I've had a long day. I really just want to go home and rest, says Hisashi. Dude, it's me, says Izuku. Do I know you? Asks Hisashi. I'm literally your son, says Izuku. What are you doing in New York? Asks Hisashi. I'm just here for a few days. I haven't seen you in forever. I don't really know why I'm here considering I'm pretty sure I hate you. I guess I just want to talk, says Izuku. Okay, sure. Just give me a minute, I gotta get out of my hero costume, says Hisashi. Okay. Sounds good, says Izuku. Fuck this felt Hisashi visibly felt awkward. Izuku was hoping he'd be a prick so he didn't have to be civil but he wasn't raising his voice at all. Izuku wants to tear into him but they are literally right outside his hero agency. He'll do it when they are alone. Then he'll blackmail him. He's gotten kinda good at that. A little while later Hisashi walked out of his hero agency. I kinda expected you to run off again, says Izuku. I thought about it again, says Hisashi. You got anywhere we could talk? Asks Izuku. I've got a penthouse not too far from here, says Hisashi. Lead the way, man, says Izuku. While Izuku walked to Hisashi's penthouse he noticed a couple of things. He really did look a lot like his dad. They had the same curly hair, same freckles, same nose, even the same ears. Although Hisashi's features were a lot sharper, he kinda looks like Spike Spiegel. He has the hair and everything. When Izuku got to Hisashi's penthouse he looked around. This was a pretty nice place. Mom should have asked for more alimony, says Izuku. That's on her, says Hisashi. You got anything to drink? Asks Izuku. I've got water in the fridge, says Hisashi. Izuku just stares at him. Oh, I'll grab a couple cans of Bud Light. Wait, how old are you? Asks Hisashi. Oh, so you just suddenly care now? Asks Izuku. There it is, he could really get under this guy's skin now that he was in the comfort of someone else's own home. Fine, I'll be right back, says Hisashi. When Hisashi gets back with a pack of Bud Light Izuku decides to be a prick with his vampiric powers. He grabs the first can and eats the whole thing right in front of his dad. He doesn't drink it. He just eats it, no chewing. He unhinges his jaw and pushes the can down his throat with his hand. His throat bulges. He doesn't even gag. Once he's done he just sees Hisashi staring at him. He holds eye contact with Hisashi and grabs another can. Are you gonna drink that one? Asks Hisashi. Fine, says Izuku as he starts to drink like a normal. So, starts Hisashi. How is hero work? Asks Izuku. It's alright, says Hisashi. That's nice, says Izuku. He really doesn't know what to say here. He wanted to just shout at the rat bastard in front of him but it feels like looking in an older mirror. So, what have you been up to? Asks Hisashi. At least he doesn't know what to say either. I got a job. I sell cars. I also got a girlfriend. That's cool, says Izuku. Why was talking to this guy so hard? Good for you. Look man, I know there's a lot you want to say to me. Just get going, says Hisashi. Man, there is a lot I want to say to you. I hate you, I really do. When you left I didn't feel broken up or hurt. It just didn't feel real. It took me some time but I realized it was real, that you were gone. I knew you weren't coming back. There's a lot I blame you for. But I didn't come here to blame you. I just wanted to know why you left. I remember parts but I was only 4. Why'd you have to go and leave us like that? Asks Izuku. He felt awful saying this. He made sure to keep his voice steady and even the whole time he spoke. Jesus Christ. Man, what am I even supposed to say to that? There were tons of reasons. I'd say you weren't one of them, but you'd know I'm full of shit. I was falling out with your mother for a while. I didn't want kids to begin with, much less a kid who can't even stick up for himself. I feel like a real piece of shit saying it out loud. I feel like an even bigger piece of shit because I know I'd do it again. I feel bad for leaving you, I really do, but I'm not gonna let you back into my life. I've done a lot in the past 11 years. I've done it by myself. I'm gonna keep doing it by myself, says Hisashi. Can I at least stay here for a while? I don't have a place to stay while I'm here, asks Izuku. No. Look, I said I'm sorry, but starts Hisashi. I'm gonna tell people you cut me with a beer bottle, says Izuku. Okay, shit, fine, you can stay a while, Christ, says Hisashi. Oh, one more thing, says Izuku. Ugh, what? Asks Hisashi. Izuku pulls his suit out of his travel bag. I'm the Vigilante Katsuiki. I'm not gonna explain how I got powers. I just wanted to let you know because I have leverage over you and you can't say anything. Come on, I'm not a dumb, starts Hisashi again. Izuku grows claws and slashes his forearm and heals the wound in front of his dad's eyes. Okay, wow, says Hisashi. Yeah, do you have a guest room? Asks Izuku. Yes, but first, what's stopping me from telling everyone that you're a vigilante? Asks Hisashi. Yeah, I'm a quirkless vigilante with known superpowers. No, I'm not crazy. Also, my dad stabbed me with a beer bottle, says Izuku. Fair point, says Hisashi. A little while later, Izuku was on top of Hisashi's apartment building. He was pretty excited. It would be his first night patrolling in the United States. He turned into a bat and flew around looking for something. He flew around for a little bit. He couldn't move like he normally did. The buildings were too tall. He had to fly unless he brought his car, but he didn't want to do that. Eventually he saw a couple of people fighting in a parking lot. It seemed like as good a place to start as any. As he got closer, he realized it wasn't a brawl, it was 5 guys just beating the absolute shit out of somebody. Izuku landed in front of the guy who was getting his ass kicked as he turned back into a human. Don't worry, I got your back, says Izuku. Whoa, says one of the assailants. Guys, it's Katsuiki. We're your biggest fans. My fans shouldn't go around beating people shitless, says Izuku. But he's a robber, says the smallest assailant. Izuku turns around and slugs the robber. He knocks him out with one swing. I've never met a fan of mine in person, says Izuku. We're big fans. We saw you on TV and thought, hey, that was some pretty cool shit, then we started beating up villains, says one of them. Oh, you guys are the New York Vigilantes. Y'all are the reason I came out here, says Izuku. You came to meet us? Asks the short one. Yeah. I've heard of vigilantes popping up all around after I fought the Shihusekai. I decided I'd go around and meet a couple. Do y'all wanna go somewhere and get to know each other? Says Izuku. Sure, you can come back to our place, says the biggest one. That's very kind of you. Did you say our? Asks Izuku. We live together, we're brothers, says the big one. Cool, well, lead the way, says Izuku. A little while later, Izuku and the brothers were in a small apartment. At least it was small for all 5 of the brothers. So, could you guys give me some names to put to your faces? Asks Izuku. Sure, says the big one. I'm Johnny Johnson. I'm the eldest brother. I practically raised these little shits. It's true. I'm Jeremy Johnson. I'm the second eldest, says Jeremy. I'm Jeremy's twin brother Joey Johnson. We're twins and we're identical, says Joey as he points to Jeremy. Izuku nods along sagely. I'm Jimmy Johnson. I'm the second youngest, says Jimmy. I'm Jay Johnson. I'm the youngest brother, says Jay. Cool, says Izuku. If you don't mind, I'd like to know your quirks. I can take electrical energy and turn it into kinetic energy so that I can hit real hard, says Johnny. I can take electric energy and let it flow through metal objects. Says Jeremy. I can take electric energy and let it flow through my skin when I hit people. Says Joey. I can take electric energy and power up electronic devices. Says Jimmy. I absorb and release water. Says Jay. Are you guys from around here? Asks Izuku. We're actually from Boston. Says Johnny. That explains the accents. Says Izuku. It also explains our group name. We're the Boston Bashers. Says Joey. We never agreed on that. Says Jeremy. I still think we should be the Johnson 5. It's an alright name but it has its problems. Says Johnny. Like what? Asks Jeremy. It tells people we're related. It tells people our last name. It puts us in danger. Says Johnny. There's plenty of groups of 5 siblings with the last name Johnson. Says Jeremy. Name one. Says Johnny. Those guys we both know. The ones down in Boston. Says Jeremy. Bitch. Do you mean our cousins? Asks Johnny. That's actually a pretty good point. Says Jeremy. So we agree? We're the Boston Bashers. Asks Johnny. Everyone agrees but Jeremy doesn't say anything. Jeremy? Says Johnny. I still don't like it. Says Jeremy. All the brothers collectively groan. But I accept it. Says Jeremy. Alright, the Boston Bashers are in business, baby. Says Jay. You guys know anybody we could go after? Asks Izuku. Yeah, an old friend from college just robbed a store. Says Johnny. I don't think petty theft is all that bad. Says Izuku. It was a mom and pop joint. Says Johnny. Okay, wow, let's rock his shit. Is he with a gang or something? Asks Izuku. He's with the flock. All of them have bird-related quirks. Says Johnny. Okay. People that can fly have an easy time getting away. Try to grab them if you can. Do y'all have masks? Asks Izuku. Yeah, we're ready to go. Says Johnny. Great, let's go. Says Izuku. A little while later the 6 of them were walking down to a pretty big house. It was where the flock lived. It was gonna be a 6-on-6 fight. Izuku wasn't sure about how tough his new friends were but he supposes they could handle it. Johnny and Joey came unarmed. Jeremy was holding an aluminum bat to channel electricity through. Jay brought a lead pipe. Jimmy was on an electric motorcycle. He could power it up with his quirk and he could make it accelerate faster. He also brought a fairly long chain. So how are we gonna do this smart and quiet or loud and stupid? Asks Izuku. None of us are very smart. Says Jimmy. I'm gonna ram our way through the door. Y'all run in and start swinging. Jimmy, stay outside and tell anybody that gets away or knock them out if you get the chance. Says Izuku. Everybody agreed on what to do and the fight started. Izuku charged through the door shoulder first. 2 people on the living room couch got up. Johnny and Joey tackled them. Joey shocked them and Johnny beat the feathers off of them. Jeremy hit the guy coming downstairs with his bat. Izuku and Jay ran upstairs after the other 3. When they found them they were climbing out a window. Izuku ran after them, jumped through a window and grabbed one by the legs. He swung from that guy's legs and kicked one down. He saw Jimmy come at him with the bike. Jay put his finger in the pipe and used it like a pressurized water gun and shot one down. Izuku threw the guy he was hanging onto down to the street below. He angled himself when he landed so his elbow hit the guy's head and knocked him out. Once they were all knocked out, Izuku tied their hands and wings, took his blood and scouted the house for money. He found money that he split with the Johnsons. He also found bags of angel dust, cannabis and perks. He'd take those to Dobby. Maybe a little for himself but nobody needs to know about that. All in all, his first night with the Boston Bashers paid fairly well, all things considered. Chapter 43. Izuku woke up in Hisashi's guest room. He was a little confused at first but remembered what he was doing last night. He walked into the living room. He started watching the news. He saw a report on what he did last night. Apparently moving overseas got him a lot of attention. Americans seemed a little more supportive of vigilantism. That was pretty nice. "Hey," says Hisashi. "Oh, hey," replies Izuku. Hisashi looks at the TV and back to Izuku. "You're already started? I'm not gonna be here long. I thought I'd work while I'm here," says Izuku. "You met with those vigilantes?" says Hisashi. "Yup," says Izuku. "Are you gonna meet up with some more vigilantes after this?" asks Hisashi. "Yeah, I was thinking about going to Texas to look for that cowboy-looking guy. I was thinking about staying with your brother while I'm down there," says Izuku. "You'd like him. He's a decent guy," says Hisashi. "Better than your bitch ass," says Izuku. Hisashi chuckles at that. "Yeah, actually. He's a good dude. Don't you have to go to work or something?" asks Izuku. "I dictate what goes on at my agency. Whenever I show up is when we start. My employees probably have some paperwork or something like that from last night to work on anyways, so showing up late is probably good for them," says Hisashi. Replies Izuku. "So you took the Flock's drugs? You ain't a pothead, are you?" asks Hisashi. "Most of it is for my roommates. The PCP is for me. You ever tried some?" asks Izuku. "I've been around," says Hisashi. "Does vigilantism pay well?" "It all depends on what I can find. The Flock paid well, but I split it with 6 other guys. The Shihuseki could have made me rich, but I wasn't after their money," says Izuku. "What about the Syndicate? I heard you plugged a couple of their guys," says Hisashi. "They paid pretty well. They had a good amount of money, and I took a big box full of Smith & Wessons, 9mm and all that. Kept 2 for myself. I also picked up a pump-action Remington. All in all, it paid off pretty well for what I did. I don't think I want to make a habit of picking on a serpent though. They've been around since before quirks even existed, and they're probably still the biggest organized crime group to walk the earth," says Izuku. "You gonna head out today?" asks Hisashi. "Probably. I'm gonna try to talk with the fellas I bought the Flock with the other day. They seem like pretty good dudes. They ain't bad in a fight either," says Izuku. "Alright. Have fun and all of that. Don't get killed and don't bring people back here," says Hisashi. "I won't," says Izuku. "Good. Then I'll be on my way," says Hisashi. "See you around, ass Jack," says Izuku. "See you," says Hisashi as he hits the door. Izuku stuck around watching the news for a while. He decided to FaceTime Toga if she was up to it. It turns out she was. So was Dabi and Eri. They were a little worried. He didn't tell them he was going anywhere, seeing as he did it impulsively. Him not coming home last night spooked them, and him showing up in New York confused them. He explained what he was doing and they were relieved. He promised Eri he'd be back soon, or he'd bring her over. If he did, he'd ask her to tell his dad to go fuck himself. It'd be pretty funny. He mentioned that he was gonna see if the guys he was with the other day were busy. He'd gotten their numbers and made a group chat. Once everyone back home was ready to get back to what they were doing, he decided to text said group chat and talk with the Johnsons. Johnny was at work. Jimmy and Jay were gambling on bike races that Jimmy was participating in. The twins, Jeremy and Joey, were free and said they'd be down to hang out. They even invited him over to their place. Izuku thinks these guys are pretty nice, even if he can't remember which name goes to which face. Their names are also similar. What kind of dumbass names people like that? Like seriously, who names their child Johnny Johnson? It was honestly beyond Izuku, but it wasn't really that big of a deal. Izuku shows up at their house, knocks and waits for them to show up. "It's pretty cold out." "Hey big man," says Jeremy. "Hey, man, how you doing?" asks Izuku. "I'm doing fine. Come on in. Joey is on the couch," says Jeremy. "So this one is Jeremy. Hey Joey," says Izuku as he walks into the cramped living room. "Dude, I'm Jeremy," says Joey. No wait, that's Jeremy. What? He said you were Joey. Says Izuku. No I didn't. I'm Joey. Says Jeremy. Wait shit, that's Joey. You're messing with me. Aren't you? Asks Izuku. Yeah, we're messing with you. Says the one that was in the living room when Izuku entered. I'm Jeremy. Then that makes you Joey. Says Izuku, pointing at the one that opened the door. No, I'm Jay. Says Joey. Quit messing with me, Joey. Says Izuku. Damn, I told you he'd catch on quick. I told you, you said he wouldn't and I told you. Says Joey. I said he'd catch on way before you did. You didn't tell me shit, you whack-ass sucker. Says Jeremy. You guys are actually super fun to listen to. Says Izuku. We actually get that pretty often. You look a little young with your mask off. They say you should never ask a woman her age. That shouldn't be a problem though, considering you aren't a woman and are in fact a man. So how old are you anyways? Asks Joey. Izuku was trying to reply he really was, but the way the question was phrased threw him off. It wasn't that he didn't understand what he was being asked, he just thought it was stupid. No, that was definitely stupid. Come to think of it, these guys were pretty dense, but then again Toga was as dense if not denser than a brick and she was still pretty fun to be around. I'm actually 15. Replies Izuku. Whoa, you're way younger than we thought you were. Says Jeremy. Yeah, we thought you were at least 18. Says Joey. I thought you were 20. Says Jeremy. They both look at Jeremy kinda funny. Izuku really didn't look 20. Well, maybe he did with the mask on, but no, not really. My quirk changes my facial structure when I use it. My face lengthens and narrows to let me grow my fangs. My nose gets a little longer to give me a stronger sense of smell. Basically I just narrow all of my facial features, slit my pupils, and lengthen my ears. My quirk makes me look older than I am. It helps sometimes. Says Izuku. Well damn, we wanted to take you out drinking. Says Jeremy. You still can. I just gotta use my quirk to make myself look older and I've got a chance of getting in. Says Izuku. Yeah, that could work, then we could get to fighting a couple more gangs. Or we could fight now and meet up with the rest of the brothers for a fun night out. Says Joey. Do you guys know any gangs around here? Asks Izuku. Yeah, we actually used to have a gang consisting of the 5 of us, but we stopped robbing people. Johnny was always against the gang, he said we could manage without taking from other people. Says Jeremy. Dude, we weren't supposed to tell him that. Says Joey. Oh shoot. Says Jeremy. It's fine guys. I don't really care, one of my closest friends back home is a serial killer. Actually, 2 of them are serial killers. Says Izuku. That's crazy. Says Joey. Yeah, it's hog wild back home. Anyways, y'all wanna get started with those gangs? Asks Izuku. Oh, for sure. Says Jeremy. The 3 of them set out to hunt some of the small gangs of New York. They didn't go after anything that seemed desperate. They could understand desperation. They try to go after criminals who don't care who they take from. Joey and Jeremy actually come up with a pretty big list of gangs that fit that description. Izuku mentioned he was gonna go back to Japan tomorrow, so they made sure to go after all the gangs they could. They actually made a lot of progress. They came down on and captured all the members of 3 different gangs. It was actually a very productive day. It was also nice to only split the money 3 ways. After they were done, they decided to meet with Johnny as he was getting off of work. He worked as a repo man. He didn't really like his job, but he needed money. They're currently waiting outside of where Johnny worked. He gets off in like 5 minutes. Hey Joey. A voice calls. They turn to see Jay and Jimmy coming over on Jimmy's motorcycle. Hey Jimmy. Hey Jay. Says Jeremy. What's crackin'? Asks Jay. Where? Waiting for Johnny. We hit some gangs and we're gonna use the money to go out drinking. Says Joey. We'll tag along. We made a little bit of money racing. Says Jimmy. Is this dude Katsuiki? Asks Jay. Yeah, it's me. Call me Izuku. Replies Izuku. Cool. Wait, can you drink with us? You look young. Says Jimmy. Izuku activates the parts of his quirk that change his appearance and stands up straight to look taller. I can probably get in. Says Izuku. The hell are you all doing out here? Comes Johnny's voice. Hey Johnny. We all went out and got a little bit of dough. We was wondering if you wanted to come and grab a couple of drinks with us. Says Jimmy. Sure, let's go. Says Johnny. The six of them walked down to a bar the brothers know. The twins were talking to each other. The two youngest were chatting. Izuku and Johnny fell in line behind them. Katsueki starts Johnny. Call me Izuku. Replies Izuku. Okay Izuku, my brothers really look up to you. I've been taking care of all of them since I was 18. I know they want to work with you and I know they're tough, but try not to let em get hurt. Says Johnny. I'll keep em safe like they were my own brothers. Replies Izuku. Good. I'm not as big a fan as they are, but I can appreciate what you do. I'm willing to help, but I work my ass off to keep these guys in good shape. I don't have as much time as I'd like. I probably won't be able to work with you as much as they do. Says Johnny. It's fine. You do what you have to. Says Izuku. You're a good kid. You know that? Says Johnny. Izuku thinks about a couple of days ago. When he killed those three guys. When he went to hell. It felt like a long while ago, but it hasn't even been a week. It was in self-defense, but he was the one who was hunting them. It was his fault he got shot at, and it was his fault that those men were dead. I'm really not. At least I don't feel like I am. Says Izuku. Well, neither are we, but we still do our best. Says Johnny. It was a really weird experience talking to Johnny. He barely spoke with the man for 5 minutes, but he felt like he was talking with him for hours. He had only known this family for days, but he felt like he'd known them for years. They were just so accepting and cheerful. It was the way he felt around Dabi and Toga, but to a lesser extent. It reminds him of that old phrase, birds of a feather, flock together. He wonders what else this group would do together. He didn't really have time to pursue the train of thought as they had just reached the bar. The bartender looked at Izuku for a while, trying to see if he was old enough, but he let him drink in the end. The six of them ended up drinking away all of the money they'd made that day. It was fun though. Talking with these guys all plastered and stumbling. He introduced them to future funk. That was fun, especially when they tried to sing along. They couldn't pronounce anything right. It was a good day and an even better night. Izuku and Johnny ended up carrying all of them home when they passed out. He really felt at home with these guys. He'd definitely come back and work with them again sometime. For now though, he was going back home to see Dabi, Toga and Eri. He had a lot of fun in New York. Meeting his dad was an interesting experience. He still hasn't forgiven him and part of him still hates him, but he's got some sort of understanding of why he left, or he at least had closure, and that's a good start. Chapter 44. It was nice to be back in Japan. Izuku spent some time with Eri, which was always nice. She wasn't very dependent. She kept to herself and was just the type of silent company Izuku needed when he was tired or tried to be a good role model for Eri. He knew he wasn't the best as he taught Eri to swear. He figured she deserved to swear given all that she's seen. That, and he felt like a piece of shit telling her not to swear when he swears so regularly. The only exception to his anti-hypocrisy rule was when he told Eri not to drink, smoke, or do drugs. Soon he planned on leaving Japan again. He wanted to go to Texas to look for the cowboy who's been shooting at criminals down there. But before he went back to the US to look for some vigilante he might not even find, he was going to be on Present Mix podcast. Grin had set it all up for him. He was going there tonight. He was just staring in the closet and trying on outfits. You still can't decide what to wear? Asks Toga. No, I don't much mind looking ratty on a small stage in front of a small crowd. I'm gonna be on the biggest podcast in the world tonight. I want to look nice, says Izuku. Wear your suit, says Toga. Present Mick met Katsueki. He'd probably recognize me, says Izuku. What if you looked ratty, on purpose? Asks Toga. What do you have in mind? Asks Izuku. Don't wear a shirt. Show off your tattoos. Maybe wear a jacket but leave it open. You can control the way your hair grows, right? Asks Toga. Yeah, replies Izuku. Keep the hair long and grow some on your chest and belly, says Toga. Okay, I'm not sure but I'll try, says Izuku as he grows out his body hair. He doesn't need to take a shirt off to show Toga he wasn't wearing one to begin with. I think you're good, but you should wear a jacket. Luckily I went out and stole one just for this, says Toga. Wow, thanks, replies Izuku. Toga gives him a varsity jacket with no markings. I like it, but aren't varsity jackets usually a darker color like black or blue? Asks Izuku. What's wrong with pink? Asks Toga. Nothing. I like it. I'll wear it. Should I wear my studs? Asks Izuku. Yeah, the jade ones complement your eyes and hair, says Toga. Yeah, I'll go with those and I'll wear blue jeans with my signature red shoes, says Izuku. Do you have any idea what you're doing? Asks Toga. What do you mean? Asks Izuku. For the podcast, what are you going to talk about? Asks Toga. I don't know. I think it's like an interview. I'll just answer his questions and try to make myself look good. I don't want to lie though, says Izuku. Why not? Asks Toga. There are tons of fake people in the world. I wanna be a real one, replies Izuku. Good luck with that. I'm just gonna keep being fake, says Toga. Yeah, but you're fake in the real way, says Izuku. Alright, I'm gonna go clean myself up. After a relaxing bath, Izuku hung out around the house until he had to go to Mick's Hero Agency where the podcast is made. Time passed by quicker than he liked it to. As he drove over to Mick's, he was nervous about going on the show, second-guessing his lack of shirt. He'd have to trust Toga. She was pretty good with these things. It was kinda funny to think about. Not too long ago he was jumping through windows chasing criminals, but coming onto a podcast spooks him. It was time to stop pursuing that train of thought. He was here. He should probably leave his gun and his knife in the car. The show comes on at 7, so he came over at 6:30. He went into the agency. He'd never been into Mick's agency, but it was like most other agencies he'd been in, except the second floor was soundproof for Mick's show. It was actually smaller than most agencies he'd seen, come to think of it. A little while later he was sitting at the table where Mick hosts his podcast, waiting for Mick to show up. When Mick showed up, they spoke for a little while. It was just small talk. The real conversation was going to wait until the show. Was kind of nervous, wondering if Mick would recognize him or find his lack of shirt weird. He normally takes Toga's advice, but this felt like a misstep, especially with how skinny he's gotten since he became a vampire. His stomach sunk inwards, but his chest puffed out with muscles. It didn't make his chest look bigger, it just made his stomach look smaller. Well, he didn't have time to change. The show was starting. Hello listeners. It's your boy Present Mick with another episode of the Mickcast, the only podcast ran by Present Mick. We have a very special guest today. A local musician named Izuku Midoriya. He's not super popular, but I know talent when I see it, says Present Mick. It's a pleasure to meet all of you, says Izuku into the microphone provided for him. So for the most part you do covers of old songs from before quirks existed and sort of bring them back, which I like, but what I'm really interested in are your originals. You've only done one of them, but I think it's my favorite song you've sang. I've gotta ask if you'll be doing more, says Present Mick. I've been writing a couple of songs. Some of them are done, some don't feel quite right. I plan on showing them off, but I'd like to do it live on a stage. Most of my music is either online, or played in bars. I'd like to get a crowd going before I show off more of my originals, says Izuku. Well, as a fan I can't wait to hear more of your music, says Present Mick. As a fan of yours I'm glad to hear you're a fan of mine, replies Izuku. Oh, you're a fan of mine, says Present Mick. Yeah, you're easily one of my favorite heroes, right up there with Fat Gum, Hawks, and Myruko. What about me puts me so high on your list? Asks Present Mick. I love the persona you put out for people to see. Usually I hate people that don't act the way they really are. They feel fake. And like, yeah, you have a persona but it still feels authentic to you. Like it's not an active choice, you just slip into the role, says Izuku. Well, that's nice of you to say. Have you considered becoming a hero yourself? Asks Present Mick. I have, and I sort of still do, but I'm losing interest, I guess, says Izuku. You'd rather make a living off of the music, right? Asks Present. That's not it, 'cause you juggle like 4 different jobs. I could manage 2 jobs. When I say I'm losing interest, what I really mean is I'm losing faith, I think, says Izuku. Why is that? Asks Present Mick. Heroism is a beautiful idea when I think about it. It really is. When you put it into practice it falls apart. I really don't think heroes and heroism should be glorified, says Izuku. You don't think putting your life on the line for others should be praised? Asks Present Mick. I think it should be praised, naturally. I don't think heroism or heroes should be glorified when they should be normalized. I shouldn't have to wear a cape and spandex to save people, says Izuku before looking down at his bare and slightly hairy chest. Hell, I could do it shirtless. That's actually a really interesting train of thought. I'd like to pursue that. Keep talking about heroism, says Present Mick. Anybody can be a hero in any way they chose. You want to be a licensed hero and save lives, go for it. You want to be a cop and chase criminals, go for it. You want to be a doctor and keep people in good health, go for it. You want to be a family man and make sure your child lives a happy, healthy life, go for it. You want to be a soldier and keep your country and fellow countrymen safe, go for it. Heroism isn't a cookie-cutter idealism. It can take all sorts of shapes, none lesser than the other. Anybody can be a hero in any way. Physical ability doesn't have any bearing on it either. Quirks don't have any bearing on it. A couple months back a classmate of mine was getting choked out by a villain. I ran in and I got him out of there. I did it all quirkless. Sure, I was put in the hospital for a while, but I'm still here, I'm still breathing. You can't really tell because I put concealer over all of my scars, but that fight messed me up. I was in a coma for a while. If you asked me if I'd do it again, I'd say yes. I don't even like the classmate, he's a bitch, but I'd do it again 100 times over, says Izuku. Wow, I was expecting to talk about music when I brought you on here, but this ended up becoming an in-depth discussion on the idea of a hero, says Present Mick. We can talk about music if you want to, says Izuku. No. This is actually kind of nice. As a licensed hero I think there is always going to be some disconnect between me and people in other lines of work when it comes to my job. It's really interesting to hear what other people have to say, says Present Mick. I'm glad you're enjoying our conversation, says Izuku. So you mentioned that you're quirkless, says Present Mick. And damn proud of it, replies Izuku, to which Mick smiles. Do you think people treat you differently because of it? Asks Present Mick. People treat anyone different for anything, but I've noticed people tend to treat me like I'm fragile. The ones who treat me like I'm fragile are the ones whose asses I could kick. The ones who treat me like shit are usually the ones that are a little stronger. I like to think of myself as a real tough guy who wins lots of fights. Which is true, but I lose pretty often too, says Izuku. You get into fights often? Asks Present Mick. Yeah, but I've been cutting classes a lot recently. Can't mess with me if I'm not there. I hope my mom doesn't listen to this, If she does, I'm still a straight A student. I just don't go to class. I get my work done, I swear. Says Izuku. So you're a straight A student. I know you're unsure about being a hero, but UA has a good general ed course if you're interested. You should be fine, but you can't get into any fights on or off campus while attending UA. If you'd like, I could recommend you to the principal. Says President Mick. I'll think about it. I've considered attending Shikatsu, but I've heard they're real strict. I'm not the best when it comes to stuff like that. Says Izuku. You seem like a good kid, you seem passionate. I've always believed that passion was what drove my career as a hero and as a teacher. If you choose to go to UA, I'd gladly put in a good word for you. Says President Mick. I appreciate it. I really do. What was UA like when you went there? Asks Izuku. I had a good time. My friend group was pretty small, but it was really tight. 2 of the people I hung around with ended up being teachers with me. Says President Mick. That's real nice. Replies Izuku. The conversation was starting to slow down. They were kind of out of things to talk about this. Maybe the show would end soon? Well, I'm sorry to tell you this, my lovely listeners and wonderful guest, but it is now 8 and it is time for the show to end. I wish you all the best. Have a great life and I'll see all of you again next week. Says President Mick. Wow, that hour went by quickly. That was actually kinda fun. Mick was a super cool dude to talk with. Izuku thinks he'd be really fun to talk to even if he wasn't doing it for the show. Hey, I really enjoyed talking with you. You brought up a lot of really good points. Most people I bring on here don't talk about the hero system. The ones that do don't really say much, or they don't say anything smart. You've clearly put a lot of thought into this. If you do pursue heroics, I'd take you as a sidekick. I've never had a guest ballsy enough to take a shot at the hero system. Add away, big man. Hey, here's my number. If you're down to talk again, just call me. Says President Mick. For sure, man. I'll keep in touch. Says Izuku. President Mick only knew the number of Katsuiki's burner phone, so Izuku could talk with him without worrying. The phone Izuku uses for everything he does, as Katsuaki is untrackable. There really are quirks for everything these days. See you around. Says President Mick. Yeah, I'll text you later. Says Izuku. Nice kid. Thinks President Mick. Izuku didn't quite know it at the time, but this episode of the podcast was gonna blow up. People with no quirks or just weak quirks were able to relate to Izuku a little. Some would take inspiration from what he said and become better because of it. It was a pretty fun night. Looking back on a lot of things, President Mick definitely was his favorite hero. Chapter 45. Izuku was actually pretty happy with the way his interview with Mick went. He enjoyed himself and he could get behind everything he said. Naturally, talking about the hero system in a light that wasn't completely positive got some attention. Especially because President Mick's podcast is so popular. A lot of people thought he was a fool for running into a villain without a quirk. He didn't entirely disagree, it wasn't the brightest choice he made, but he stood by it. A lot of people thought quirkless people either couldn't or shouldn't become heroes. Nothing new. He understood a lot of it wasn't coming from a bad place. They just didn't want them to get hurt. He disagrees, but he understands. It still pisses him off a little. A lot. He knew that he wanted to go to Texas to look for that vigilante. He heard the guy was calling himself Texas Red. Izuku liked the song Big Iron. He assumed he'd like this guy when they met. After his interview with Mick and seeing both backlash and praise come from it, he didn't feel like going too far from home. He decided he'd just stay around the house today. He wanted to spend the day with Toga, just laying back and relaxing. Speaking of waking up, Toga just woke up next to him. They moved Toga's stuff into his room so Eri could have her own room. Izuku missed the bed space, but he liked cuddling until Toga fell asleep. Morning, Zuku. Says Toga. She was actually pretty cute when she's waking up. Morning, Toga. Replies Izuku. You gonna go to Texas today? Asks Toga. Nah, I think I'm just gonna take the day off. I think I wanna spend some time around here, says Izuku. Oh cool, we could hang out, says Toga. Yeah, we could. I know I don't really say it often, but I really care about you. When we first started dating I was just looking for something to have fun with or to distract me, but I really do care about you. I want you to know that, says Izuku. I care about you too, but what's bringing this on? Asks Toga. For a second Izuku considered lying to her. He hated with a passion the thought of opening up. He knows he's a damn fool for what he's about to say. He can't stop himself. Why the hell can't he stop himself? I'm a little scared. It's easy to go out and fight telling myself I might die, but if I die I can just be brought back. After dying and coming back I get this feeling of bliss, like nothing can hurt me, like I really am immortal. Then it wears off. I'm left with the thought that if I get killed in the right way or if I get killed too many times I can't come back. I won't see you again, I won't see Mom again, I won't even see Dabi again. Recently I've been worrying about leaving Eri behind, says Izuku. What the hell were you thinking? Toga looks taken back, but that ever-present smile stays plastered onto her face. It's starting to feel like one of the only constants in his life. It's a nice constant. I finally did it, says Izuku. About a week back I finally killed someone. I shot 3 men to death. They were Syndicate members. My buddy Wolfman has beef with the Sapphire Serpent. I backed him up because I know he'd do the same for me. We won the fight, but I know Wolfman isn't done with them. I know I should back him up because he's my friend. Hell, he's saved my life on a patrol or two. I just think if we keep going after the serpent it'll turn its head towards us. Well, nothing kept you dead yet, says Toga. Izuku smiles softly and chuckles a little. Yeah, I can handle it. I've done a lot. I took down tons of little gangs. Hell, I've beat up most members of the Shihusekai. I'm sure I can go toe-to-toe with the Syndicate. His voice regained the warmth it lost as the overconfidence he'd recently been developing came out full force. Yeah, I'll take the entire serpent. I don't even need to use my powers. Toga's ever-present smile widened a little. I like it when you get all confident like that, says Toga. It puts me in a certain kind of mood. I know what you're in the mood for, says Izuku as he smirks and cocks his eyebrow. Sports bowling, says Izuku and Toga simultaneously. The two of them played Wii Sports with Eri and Dabi coming in whenever they were bored. Dabi kept coming in last. Then he left the room for a little while, came back smelling like weed and bowled 3 perfect games in a row. Every time he won he'd stare at Izuku and Toga with this dopey grin that pulled at his staples. It was a nice day for Izuku. It was uneventful but still enjoyable. Eri had fun too. She liked throwing the ball backwards to watch the Miz spin around in a panic. It was kinda funny. The next day Izuku decided that he'd finally go to Texas to look for Texas Red. Before he did that he'd be looking for his uncle. He wanted a place to stay if he was going to be down there for a while. He drove down to Kurogir's bar to ask for a portal. Hey Kuro, says Izuku. He'd gotten a little closer with Kurogiri and Shigaraki because he'd stop by the bar for drinks sometimes. Good morning Katsueki, replies Kurogiri. How've you been? Asks Izuku. I've been fine. Just working at the bar, says Kurogiri. Slow day? Asks Izuku, noticing no one but Shigaraki was here. Most people don't come here this early, says Kurogiri. That's a good point, says Izuku. Izuku goes over to Shigaraki, who is currently playing a game Izuku recognizes as Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. He probably shouldn't bother him right now, he hears it's a hard game. Shigaraki sees Izuku's reflection on the screen. He notices that Izuku doesn't want to bother him. He doesn't say anything. Sometimes when Izuku comes here he plays Mario Kart with Tamura. He never could beat the guy, he knows every shortcut on every course. Well Kurogiri, I'd like if you could open a portal to Texas, says Izuku. Let me ask my boss. Says Kurogiri as he texts all for one. Izuku grabs a bottle and pours himself a shot of Captain Morgan's spiced rum. He makes sure to leave the money on the counter. He said yes. Texas is a big state. Where exactly do you want to go? Asks Kurogiri. The place I'm looking for is around Del Rio, I think. Could you drop me off there? Asks Izuku. Of course. Says Kurogiri as he opens a portal leading to Del Rio. Izuku found himself on top of Manuel's steakhouse on Veterans Boulevard. He typed his uncle's address into the phone. That's not good. This place was a little further than he expected. Especially with the cases he was carrying. He knew Texans were big on guns, so he imagined they wouldn't question him having any. The only problem is he'd have to carry the cases and his backpack pretty far. Well, it wasn't that big of a deal, but he'd better start jogging. Jesus Christ, that took him a while. It was already 1:30. He left at around 11. Whatever, he was finally here. And that was the wrong ranch. His stop was still further down. Well, he might as well keep going. Finally, he was finally here. The sun was about to set, but he made it. How was Texas so big? It was only one state. There was like 50 of these, right? It doesn't matter, cuz he's finally here. Damn, he was tired. Next time he's going to teleport a little closer. He was currently walking up the dirt road to the big house in the center of the ranch. Who's there? He hears a voice call out. It's an older man. This guy looks like Hisashi. It's probably his uncle. You related to Hisashi? Asks Izuku. He's my brother. Says Izuku's uncle. Well, that makes you my uncle. It's a pleasure to meet you. Says Izuku as he puts down a case and extends his hand out. Well, shit. Says Izuku's uncle excitedly. He never told me he had a kid. The bastard. Shit, and you're an older kid too. Damn, you look a whole lot like him. You've even got his curly hair. How old are you anyway? I'm 15 and my name's Izuku. Says Izuku. My name is Matthew Nakamura. Says Matthew. Izuku never really thought about it, but he kept thinking Hisashi had the same last name as he did. Izuku took his mother's name, so it makes sense they don't have the same last name. Sometimes Izuku felt like a real idiot. My last name's Midoriya. Adds Izuku. Not Nakamura? Asks Matthew. No, mom and dad divorced a while back. Mom raised me, so I stuck with her name. Says Izuku. Damn, that bastard don't tell me a goddamn thing. I shouldn't have to find out I've got a whole ass nephew from my goddamn nephew. Says Matthew. Wow, Izuku really liked this guy. I didn't know I had an uncle until I spoke with Hisashi like last week. Says Izuku. Motherfu, that motherfucker. Where even is he? Asks Matthew. He's in New York. Says Izuku. New York. New York. He is literally in New York. Of all the places he could have went and gone, he went to New York. I ought to take a shovel to the miserable bastard. Says Matthew. This guy's so cool. He went to Japan for about 6 years. Around 2 years and he got married and had me. About 4 years after that, him and mom got divorced. Dad didn't actually mean to have me. That and their relationship was kinda rocky. I still don't get why mom married him. Says Izuku. I don't think she gets it either. I actually never knew he went to Japan. He really don't tell me shit. Hey, so you're from Japan, right? Have you ever seen Kitsueki? People around here think vigilantes are the coolest. We've actually got our own vigilante around here somewhere. My kids are big fans of Kitsueki and the local cowboy Texas Red. Says Matthew. Oh, that's me. I'm Kitsueki. Says Izuku. Really? Asks Matthew. Yep. Replies Izuku. Matthew nods. He's clearly thinking about something. Huh. Neat. So are you here to hunt someone down? I've heard of that cowboy-dressed fellow running around near here. Says Izuku. The vigilante, Texas Red? Asks Matthew. Yeah, I want to see how many people I can get working with me. I've got beef with a syndicate, but I know damn well I can't do it all alone. It'd be nice if I could just run down a whole syndicate and expect to win, but I'd get shot to shit in a second or two. So, I need a little help," says Izuku. "You were hoping I'd let you stay here while you look for him?" asks Matthew. "If you don't mind. I really don't want to impose," says Izuku. "It's fine. I've got lots of land. If you don't mind me asking, how'd you even get here so fast? I don't think you could have taken Del Rio International," says Matthew. "I took a portal down here. I know a guy with a coordinate-based quirk. He helps me get around," says Izuku. "Well, if you like, you could bring some friends through that portal. They could help you look for Texas Red," says Matthew. "I really wouldn't want to impose," says Izuku. "You keep saying that, but I don't think you realize how much land we have here. You see that house there? That's not where we live. That's just a spare house we have for guests that never fucking come over. I finally have a chance to show off the guest house. Don't tell your friends I'm doing this to flex though," says Matthew. "I won't tell 'em nothing. I've got some people I could bring over. It's getting kinda late though, we should probably do that tomorrow," says Izuku. "That's a pretty good point. The key to the house is under the steps leading onto the porch. Tomorrow, I'll introduce you to my two boys Mark and Luke," says Matthew. Matthew, Mark, and Luke. All we're missing is John, and we'll have a holy quartet, thinks Izuku. "Sounds good. I'll see you tomorrow, and thanks for letting me stay," says Izuku. "No problem, but I should probably mention, I expect you to put some work in around here," says Matthew. "I've got the strength for it," replies Izuku as he heads over to the guest house. One thing was really on Izuku's mind as he set his bags down on the floor. How the hell does he know so many rich people? He's broke as hell, and like everyone he knows is just financially stable. It really baffles him. The bills he pays for his own house practically kill him, and here comes his uncle with a whole ass house just for guests. This was some bullshit. Chapter 46. Matthew was walking up the steps to Izuku's guest house. It was pretty early. The boy might not be awake just yet. He was about to knock on the door when he heard Izuku's voice. "Morning," says Izuku. Izuku was sitting on the porch, smoking. He really should stop doing that. "You're up early," says Matthew. "I didn't sleep. I was looking for Texas Red," says Izuku. "You find him?" asks Matthew. "Not yet," says Izuku. "Should you be smoking?" asks Matthew. "I can regenerate. I should be fine," says Izuku. Hums Matthew. "So what's the plan for today?" asks Izuku. "I actually do want help around here," replies Matthew. "I've still got the strength for it," says Izuku. "Cool. You want to bring those friends over before we get to work?" asks Matthew. "Sure," replies Izuku. A little while later, Dabi, Eri, Toga and Izuku came out of a portal into Del Rio, Texas. This time they were gonna drive back to the ranch. Kurogiri's portals could get pretty big, so Izuku was able to fit his car through it. While driving, Izuku couldn't help but wonder what this meeting was going to be like. Shit, did the Nakamura family speak Japanese? If not, he'd need to translate. Well, he'd find out in a minute or so. He was already here. Matthew was waiting for him at the house. "Is that their house?" asks Toga. "That's the house we'll be borrowing," says Izuku. "They've got several houses?" asks Dabi. "They're rich," replies Izuku. "That's a flex right there. We can hardly afford one house and these guys have multiple. Shit's crazy," says Dabi. "Yeah, I thought the same thing. I know so many rich people that I honestly feel broker," says Izuku. "Same, brother," replies Dabi. "Hey guys," says Matthew. "What the heck?" says Eri. Eri's confusion was actually pretty cute. "He's speaking English," says Izuku to help Eri out. "Oh. Okay. replies Eri. Hey, quick question. Do any of you guys speak Japanese? Asks Izuku. No, why? Uh-oh. Says Matthew. Bit of a problem, but I guess I'll translate. Says Izuku. Cool. Says Matthew. Guys, this is my uncle Matthew. Matthew, this is my brother who isn't actually my brother but is close enough. Dobby. This is my girlfriend and hopefully future wife, Toga. This is my daughter. Her name is Eri. I'd kill like a state's worth of people to keep her safe. Says Izuku. Not to be that guy or anything, but aren't you a little too young to have a daughter that old? Asks Matthew. She's adopted. I beat up a Yakuza boss for her. I actually got my arm torn off doing it. Shit hurt like a bitch. Says Izuku. Huh. That's pretty cool. Says Matthew. Hey, nice car. What do you drive? It looks like an older model. I've actually never seen a car like that in person. That is a 1982 Dodge Charger. Replies Izuku. That's over 200 years old. Says Matthew. Yeah, it's tight as hell. The dude I work for got it for me. In exchange I beat up criminals who he needs out of the way for some reason or another. I try not to make it my business. Says Izuku. The five of them started walking towards Matthew's house. Matthew had breakfast ready for them. That was pretty nice of him. He made bacon, eggs, sausage, biscuits, and a couple of steaks. If Izuku still ate normal food, he'd lose his shit looking at this. You're not gonna eat? Asks Matthew. You know how I leave some people with bite marks and drained blood? Asks Izuku. Yeah. Replies Matthew. All I can eat is blood. I can't even taste anything else. Or at least not as strongly as I should, so I'll let these guys eat my food. Says Izuku as he gestures towards his little family. Hey, you carry, don't you? What do you shoot? Asks Matthew. I carry a Jericho 941. It's a pretty good gun. It does what I need it to do. I also carry an 1873 Cattleman's revolver. I'm a big fan of cool old stuff. Says Izuku. Shit man, you're on some big iron type shit. Says Matthew. I also own a pump action that I brought with me. I took it off a dude I shot. Says Izuku. You are easily the coolest nephew I could have asked for. Says Matthew. Also, I'm a fairly popular musician in Japan. Which would be nice, but most of the money I make goes to my manager, but I guess I owe him. Says Izuku. Damn, I really didn't expect more, but there was more. Is there anything else you aren't telling me? Asks Matthew. I think that's it. Replies Izuku. That's fine, I guess. Says Matthew. Are you guys ready to get to work? I need someone to stay behind and watch Eri. Says Izuku in English. Toga, do you want to help around the farm with me? Says Izuku in Japanese. What? No. I get to work with you. Says Dobby. Oh, okay. Says Izuku. Let's get to work. Izuku and Dobby spent most of their day doing things around the farm. They pulled weeds. They milked cows. Matthew's sons Mark and Luke were pretty cool and showed them how to do stuff like hook the cows up to the machines. Izuku learned that the only reason the ranch was really successful was because the people in Del Rio just collectively decided to support the farm and buy from them. It was actually kind of cool. Izuku got to spend time with Dobby while they worked. That was pretty fun. I've wanted to work on a farm for a while now. Says Dobby. Really? Asks Izuku. Well, it was either that or become a park ranger. I'd range the hell out of a park and burn poachers or something like that. Says Dobby. You never struck me as an outdoorsman type of guy. Says Izuku. I'm not, but I've always thought about what I was gonna do after I kill my dad. Am I just gonna work at like a 7-Eleven for the rest of my life? No, I'm gonna do something cool like range a park or raise cows or some other animal like pigs or chickens. Says Dobby. I mean, if that's where you see your life going, then you go and range that park like it's never been ranged before. Or go and raise the biggest cow the world has ever seen. Says Izuku. Honestly, I'm leaning towards park ranger. Ideally I'd get transferred a lot so I could see more of the world. I know this isn't too big a problem for you being immortal and all, and it isn't too big a problem for Toga either, but I'm in bad shape. I probably won't make it past 50 with my body being the way it is. Maybe this dream of mine is just a midlife crisis, but it sounds nice. Says Dabi. When you start getting older, I'll take care of you. Says Izuku. One thing I really like about you, Toga, and Grin. Just like rattier people in general. You guys are loyal. Normal people are fake as hell and don't even care, but you guys are real. You guys are the type of people to take a bullet for somebody. You guys are the best. So I'll take care of you. Izuku and Dabi ended up having a pretty good time working together. Even though Dabi was really sore when the workday was over, he still enjoyed himself with Izuku. It was around 6 when they stopped working. I'll be back. I'm gonna go look for Texas Red. Says Izuku. Have fun, tell us if you find him. Says Dabi. Izuku didn't plan on wearing his usual vigilante outfit on account of how hot it is in Texas. He would keep his usual red shoes though. Along with that he wore black jeans, a plain forest green t-shirt and his black bandana. He heard from Matthew that people here kept their guns in the open, so he wasn't worried about people seeing the shotgun he slung over his back. Izuku heard the guy struck around Del Rio earlier today. He drove into town and asked around about him. Apparently people here were really cool with the vigilante and claimed they'd be doing what he was doing if they didn't have full-time jobs. Some recognized him as Katsueki and asked to take pictures with him. Izuku decided that he likes Texas a lot. He heard from several people that Texas Red rode his horse towards a forest nearby. It was around a 20-minute drive when Izuku found the place he was looking for. Whenever Izuku thought of Texas, he imagined desert more than he imagined forests, but it was just as lush and just as pretty as the next forest he'd seen. Izuku smelled a horse. That seemed to be what he was looking for, probably. He strolled after the scent for a while. He smelled cooking fish. He smelled smoke too. He was pretty close to somebody's camp. There it was, but where was the camp's owner? Hello? Calls out Izuku. Click hands up. Replies who Izuku assumes the camp's owner is. The voice came from behind him. Izuku raises his hands but doesn't move other than that. Who are you? Calls the voice. Katsueki. Replies Izuku. Oh, hi. I'm Texas Red. Says Texas Red. Hi Texas Red. Can I put my arms down now? Asks Izuku. Sure. Says Texas Red. Wow, this guy had a really thick southern accent. Thank you. Says Izuku. So are you interested in working together? Sure. Says Texas Red. By the way, my real name is actually Doc Hoylde. Wow, I normally need to build a layer of trust before getting an actual name. Wait. Doc Holliday, like the famous gambler, gunslinger and dentist? Asks Izuku. Just like it. Says Doc. So I kinda noticed that you smell sick. Says Izuku. Just like him. Jokes Doc. Just like him? Asks Izuku. Just like him. Replies Doc. So it's tuberculosis then? Asks Izuku. It sure is. Says Doc. I'm actually gonna die pretty soon. Doc. Tuberculosis is curable. Says Izuku. I'm an extremely wanted man. Before I became a vigilante I shot a lot of people. Says Doc. Just like him. Jokes Izuku. Haha. No, but seriously, if I went to a hospital I'd probably get arrested. So I guess I'll just die. Says Doc with a shrug. Are you okay with it? Asks Izuku hesitantly. Oh sure, I've gunned down several dozen people in my day. Granted some of them deserved it, but I deserve what's coming to me. Says Doc. Well, I guess it's your choice. Says Izuku. It's the right choice. I think. I just wanna be a good man before I die. do a couple good things. That's why I became a vigilante when I heard about you. It seemed good for a wanted man who ain't too bad in a fight," says Doc. "What exactly is your quirk anyway?" asks Izuku. "I can slow down my perception of time for a good couple seconds, but I can't move a whole lot in that time. I mainly just use it to line up my sights and take a shot or six," says Doc. "You use a six-shooter?" asks Izuku. "Yeah, I use a 1873 Cattleman's revolver. I know it's a little on the old side, but I like it and it holds up great," says Doc. "Dude," says Izuku. "Yeah?" asks Doc. Izuku gestures towards his gun belt. "Is that?" asks Doc. 1873 Cattleman's revolver," says Izuku. "Man, I like you. You ever ride a horse before?" asks Doc. "No, why?" asks Izuku. "Eat these fish and then we're gonna go for a ride. Unless you want some?" asks Doc. "I already ate." "You eat your fish? You catch these yourself?" asks Izuku. Everything I eat I catch myself," says Doc. Doc eats his fish and takes Izuku for a ride. It's actually pretty nice. Izuku likes Doc's horse. The horse's name is Friday. It's a nice name, but Doc laughed when he said it and Izuku thinks he's missing some kind of joke. The two of them actually ended up going into town. It was pretty late when they got there, but some people were still up because the two of them ended up stopping a drive-by. Well, not really, but they caught the shooters. Doc didn't take their money, he said he wouldn't need it soon enough. More money for Izuku. More guns for Izuku too. He got his hands on 2 different Uzis. If he kept finding guns, he might start collecting them. That was pretty fun. "I like your horse," says Izuku. "Thanks, he's a good horse. One of the few animals on Earth with a quirk," says Doc. "Whoa, really? What's his quirk?" asks Izuku. "Super speed," says Doc. "That's pretty cool." Doc," asks Izuku. "Yeah?" asks Doc. "When is the last time you showered?" asks Izuku. "It's been a while," replies Doc. "Take a damn shower," says Izuku. "Fine," replies Doc. Chapter 47. Eri didn't really know what to think of Texas. She heard it was a really big place. She couldn't understand what the people here were saying, and she couldn't understand what Izuku said when he talked with the people here either. She did like the food though. It was very good. It was a little warmer here than it was in Japan. Dabi and Izuku were gone most of the day yesterday. Actually, Izuku was gone basically all day. At first Dabi was scary. He looked mean, but he isn't. He doesn't really do much, but Izuku likes him. Toga is weird. She always talks about things that nobody understands and that Izuku seems to dislike but still smiles at. Eri likes Izuku the most. He super feels safe and he buys her apples and apple juice. He's the best thing that ever happened to her. Eri wishes Izuku was around more. He's always busy. He should spend more time at home. Knock 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 knock. "Hey Eri, are you awake?" asks Izuku. "Yeah," replies Eri. "Can I come in?" asks Izuku. Responds Eri. "Hi Eri," says Izuku as he comes in. Izuku always smiles when he sees her. Eri wishes she could smile like that. "I'm gonna stay home with you today. Dabi and Toga are gonna be working though. I hope you don't mind. Since they're both gone, I'll be making breakfast. What do you want?" "Apples," says Eri. "Apple juice to go with it?" asks Izuku. Hums Eri. "Just apples? You don't want anything a little more substantial?" asks Izuku. "Just apples," replies Eri. "You know you really should have more than just apples," says Izuku. He sighs. "How many apples do you want?" asks Izuku. 8, says Eri. 8? Wow. I'm pretty sure we only have 7 apples with us, says Izuku. "Oh, that's okay too," says Eri. She really wanted 8 apples. She loves apples. I could do 7 apples and some applesauce, suggests Izuku. Eri nods happily. Izuku notices that she never smiles. He'll fix that. A little while later, Eri is eating her breakfast and Izuku is sitting with her. So what do you think of Texas? Asks Izuku. People here talk weird, says Eri. Izuku smiles. They speak a different language. They have the same words as we do, but they pronounce them differently. The language they speak is called English and is one of the most common languages on Earth, says Izuku. But apart from that, what do you think? I haven't really seen much of it, says Eri. That's a pretty good point. If you'd like, I could show you around and introduce you to some of the animals around here, says Izuku. Are they cute? Asks Eri. Most of them aren't cute. The cows are cute and pigs are kinda funny looking. The horses are kinda majestic. I think you'd like them, says Izuku. Do they have monkeys? Asks Eri. Not out here. I'll introduce you to a monkey sometime, says Izuku. Damn, says Eri. Izuku laughs when she says that. Shit, I really gotta start watching what I say, says Izuku. When you're done eating, get dressed and I'll show you the farm. Okay, says Eri as she goes to her temporary room to get out of her pajamas. The two of them walk out to the chicken coop first. These guys are a little grumpy, says Izuku. They're kinda cool though. Eri looks scared. Dumbass. Why'd you show her the birds? Seriously, what were you even thinking? On second thought, I'd rather see the cows. Let's go see the cows. Ya wanna ride on my shoulder? Asks Izuku. Replies Eri. Izuku and Eri spent the rest of the day looking at cows, pigs, sheeps, goats and horses. Hey Eri. I'm sorry I showed you those chickens, says Izuku. It's alright, says Eri. No it's not. I know you've got problems with birds. I wasn't thinking. I don't want to see you scared ever again. I'd gladly die to keep you safe. Hell, I'd gladly kill to keep you safe. You're a good kid and you deserve the best. Shit, you deserve a whole lot better than I could get for you, says Izuku. I'm glad that you saved me. You feel safe to me. My dad always said that I deserved the best. Can I call you Dad? Asks Eri. Wow. Is it natural to get attached that fast? It probably isn't. Maybe she just needs someone to get attached to. Okay, scratch that. She definitely needs someone to be attached to and to look after her like a parent. Was he the guy for that job? Hell no, he's an alcoholic and a PCP addict. He is possibly one of the worst people for that job. But how the hell is he gonna look at her and say, "No, you can't call me Dad"? He clearly can't do that. Shit. Izuku isn't saying anything. Why isn't he saying anything? Does he not want her? Was Overhaul right? She knew it. She knew it. Overhaul was right. Nobody wants her. She's a monster. Izuku puts his hand on her head and ruffles her hair. She lifts her head up to make eye contact. They both have tears in their eyes, but for different had a smile on his face from ear to ear. Izuku takes a knee to be closer to her, eye level. Of course you can. You haven't even been my daughter for a minute and I'm already so proud of you, says Izuku as he pulls her in for a hug. Moo. Admittedly, that cow was kind of a mood killer, but it was no big deal. Ma ooh 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 ooh. Okay, it's getting a little annoying. Ma ooh 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 ooh. What the hell was that cow even doing? The two of them broke off their hug. Holy shit. Did she just smile? No, it was probably just wishful thinking. Well, Toga and Dabi are gonna be done soon. We should probably get home and cook something for M, says Izuku. Can I help? Asks Eri. Of course, says Izuku. Walking home, cooking dinner, Izuku smiled the whole time. He honestly couldn't stop himself. The two workers came back and ate. After everyone ate, they sat on the couch. Eri was somewhere. Maybe looking for dessert. You'll never guess what Eri asked me today, says Izuku with a smile. Probably something nice. You seem happy, says Dabi. She asked you how to pronounce osteoporosis, says Toga. No, she didn't, says Izuku. She asked me if she could call me Dad, says Izuku, sounding extremely proud of himself. Eri walks into the room. How did you answer? Asks Dabi. Hi Eri, says Izuku. Hi Dad, says Eri. That's adorable, says Toga, but I thought I was the only one who called you Daddy. Seriously. Just calm down. Like for 5 minutes just don't do shit like the shit you just did, says Izuku. My bad, says Toga. She didn't mean it though. Man, I don't even feel like sitting here anymore. I'm going villain hunting, says Izuku. Have fun, says Toga. Be safe, says Dabi. Izuku drove into town and walked to where he remembered Doc's camp being. There it was, but where was Doc? Oh, he was pissing in a bush. Izuku promptly turned around. Oh hey partner. You didn't see nothing did you? Asks Doc. Nah, I turned around quick enough, says Izuku. That's good. You wanna go villain hunting? Asks Doc. Yup, replies Izuku. I'm done pissing you, can't turn round now, says Doc. Hey, you killed a couple boys from the serpent, right? Yeah, 'bout 3 of them, says Izuku. You wanna pick on the American group? Asks Doc. I don't know, serpent's huge. Soon we'll be dealing with the Canadian group and the Mexican group. They could kill us if they really tried, says Izuku. I'm gonna die anyways, says Doc. Speaking of that, I know a doctor who could probably help you, says Izuku. Nah, it's alright, says Doc. You sure? Asks Izuku. Yeah, let's go hunt us some snakes, says Doc. Shit, alright. Let's go, says Izuku. Follow me, says Doc. Izuku gets on Doc's horse and rides with him to a motel. They're selling weapons, says Doc. To who? Asks Izuku. Me. I set up a deal. I was gonna take him alone, but you being here probably helps, says Doc. How many are in there? Asks Izuku. Well, in the room 3. In cars outside about 11. How do you wanna take this? Asks Doc. They're expecting you. You should walk up and distract them. I'll sneak over to the side and flip one of the cars they're in. You scramble for something to hide behind and start shooting. If you can avoid shooting to kill, says Izuku. It's an alright plan. Let's go for it, says Doc. Just like Izuku said, Doc strolls up and Izuku sneaks to the side. Doc knocks on the door. Hey there partners. I'm Mr. Holiday. I've got an appointment, says Doc. You got the money? Calls someone in the room. Do I sound broke to you? Asks Doc cheerfully. Izuku thinks this might be a pretty good time. He was feeling pretty strong because he drank blood last night. He darts forwards and pushes one of their cars. He keeps pushing until it hits the other car full of gunmen, and he lifts upwards in an attempt to flip the cars. He succeeded in flipping the first car onto the second car. While Izuku was punching through windows and knocking out gunmen, Doc kicked open the door to start his shootout. He used his quirk to slow his perception of time. He shot the guns out of the 2 villains' hands. He went into the room with them. I think it would be best for all of us if you were to comply with all of my demands. Hands behind your heads, says Doc. At this point Izuku walked into the room, gun in hand, behind Doc. I thought you said there would be 3 of them, says Izuku. I thought there would be 3 of them, says Doc. Just makes our job easier though. The bathroom door bursts open behind Doc but in front of Izuku. Before the man could shoot Doc, Izuku shot him twice in the chest. You sons of bitches, says Izuku. You really thought you could play us like that? Izuku whacks both of them over the head with his pistol, knocking them both out. Thanks for saving me, kid, says Doc. It's nothing, says Izuku. Hell of a thing, killing a man. Taking away all he's got and all he's ever gonna have, says Doc. He had it coming. He shouldn't have been working for the serpent, says Izuku. We all have it coming, says Doc. I guess, says Izuku. You alright? Asks Doc. It's not my first time, says Izuku. Let's get these guys to a police station, says Doc. Sure, replies Izuku. They loaded them into their cars and drove them and their guns to a police station. Izuku kept some of the guns. He picked up a Beretta. It was a 92 grams Brigadier Volunteer. It was a pretty gun. He felt weird leaving the corpse outside the police station, but he didn't know what to do with it. Taking away all he's got and all he's ever gonna have. Why'd he say that? Why the hell did he say that? He didn't need to say that. Maybe Izuku needed to hear it. Izuku doesn't really remember the rest of his time with Doc. He doesn't remember coming home. Hey Izuku, says Toga. Hey babe. Where's Eri? Asks Izuku. Sleeping, says Toga. What's your body count? Asks Izuku. Couple of guys. You of course. Maybe a girl or two, says Toga. Izuku exhales through his nose. I meant murder, says Izuku. Oh a little over a dozen. A little less than 2 dozen. I don't really know. It's around there somewhere, says Toga. What about you Dabi? Asks Izuku. What? Asks Dabi. What's your body count? Asks Izuku. About 30, says Dabi. Damn, says Toga. 30? Asks Izuku. Holy shit. My first time killing, I was dragged into a back alley. I was getting robbed and shit. They were kicking my ass. A little over a dozen of them. Maybe 15, 16. I burnt them to ash in a second. I didn't mean to. It's just the way it is, I guess, says Dabi. What's Scotch asking? Shit, I guess I'm just catching up is all, says Izuku. Today? Asks Dabi. 'Bout an hour ago. 2 bullets to chest. Died as soon as he hit the ground. He was gonna kill Texas Red. I figured I had to shoot first, says Izuku. You want a drink? Asks Dabi. I shouldn't. Eri's calling me dad now, says Izuku. Come on, take a drink, says Dabi. Shit. Ate fine, says Izuku. Short story. This takes place back in Japan. Izuku just finished patrolling. He was gonna head home soon, but he was having a couple of cigarettes first. He was trying to keep his smoking away from Eri. He was super bummed recently. He gets sad occasionally. It hits him in waves and he's fine most of the time, but this one hit him pretty hard. Oh shit, Aizawa was behind him. Fuck. Izuku pulls his mask up. Hey old man, says Izuku. Hey kid, says Aizawa. You gonna try to arrest me again? Asks Izuku. You alright? You seem sad about something, says Aizawa. I'm fine, says Izuku. You wanna talk? I'm not gonna try anything. I haven't slept in a day or two, says Aizawa. No, replies Izuku. Aizawa sits next to him anyways. The bastard. He wasn't even saying anything. Why would he sit here just to not talk? Did he want Izuku to say something? Izuku doesn't want to say anything. Fine, he'll talk with him. Shit, he's gonna regret this. He keeps doing this. He's gotta stop talking to people. You ever think, if you died nobody would miss you? Asks Izuku. I used to, says Aizawa. Maybe they were more alike than Izuku gave them credit for. You ever think about how if you died now somebody would be lost without you? Asks Izuku. Yeah, I know the feeling, says Aizawa. Is it worse? Asks Izuku. Without a doubt, says Aizawa. You get what you want out of this conversation? Asks Izuku. Not really, says Aizawa. Well, eat shit. Neither did I, says Izuku as he gets up to leave. Before you go, why did you humor me? I know you didn't want to say any of that. says Aizawa. Can I let you in on a little secret? Asks Izuku. Of course, says Aizawa. And you won't tell anybody? Asks Izuku. I won't tell anybody, says Aizawa. Lick my balls, Aizawa, says Izuku before jumping away and going back home. Chapter 48. Izuku and the family were back in Japan. Izuku planned on leaving soonish. He heard about a vigilante in Mexico. From what he hears, she dresses like a luchador and has super strength. It should go without saying, but she fights like a luchador as well. He hears she's huge too. Like she's over 6 feet tall. Absolutely massive. For the most part she works near Tijuana. Hey man, how you doing? Asks Dabi as he sits next to him on the couch. I'm doing fine. How about you? Asks Izuku. I'm good man. Hey where are Toga and Eri? Or are they still here and I just don't know? Asks Dabi. Toga's taking Eri out for ice cream. Eri's wearing a beanie and a mask, so don't worry, says Izuku. Alright, good. Hey man, can I level with you for a minute? Asks Dabi. You sure can, my man. What's bothering you? Asks Izuku. Nothing bothering me. Just something I wanna say, says Dabi. Say away, my man, says Izuku. You're like the best dude I know. Like the strongest too, mentally strong, you know? Like I always watch you comfort Eri whenever she is sad. Or whenever Toga's upset you make something for her to eat without even asking. Or how you offer me a smoke whenever I'm bummed. Or how you just throw yourself into harm's way for people you don't even know. Like how you threw yourself in front of a moving semi-truck for someone you don't even know. What I'm really trying to say is you always help everyone but you never let anyone help you. I'm not saying you have to. I'm just saying thanks, says Dabi. You're welcome man, and thanks for saying that. It was real nice of ya, says Izuku. That feels weird to hear. It's a compliment. It was honestly one of the nicest things anybody had ever said to him, but somehow it hurt to hear. Why'd it hurt? I'm gonna head outside real quick and light up, says Izuku. You coming? Nah, I got everything off my chest, says Dabi. After that I'm probably gonna go patrolling, says Izuku. In broad daylight? Asks Dabi. Yeah, I'm bored, says Izuku. After smoking a couple of cigarettes, and feeling a little better, Izuku decided to go out and patrol. He still wasn't feeling his best, but this could help. Izuku ended up finding an in-progress bank robbery. He beat the shit out of the 3 guys robbing the bank. This actually did help him feel a little better. I am. Comes a booming voice from the sky. Oh my god, no. Here, shouts All Might. Izuku jumps on top of the bank and hides behind an AC unit. He turns around to sneak away. All Might is right in front of him. That's not good at all. Ruh-roh, thinks Izuku in a Scooby-Doo voice. Hey there young man, says All Might. Hi, All Might. I'm a big fan, says Izuku. I'm glad to hear it. Now could you do me a small favor and put these handcuffs on? Asks All Might. No, actually I can't. I've got somewhere I need to be, says Izuku as he jumps to the next roof only to find All Might's already there. I must insist you come with me. I don't want to hurt a vigilante. It'd be different if you were a normal villain, or maybe even an adult. Please just make this easier for both of us. I could get you the blood you need. I know what you are, says All Might. You know about all that, huh? Then you should know how strong I can be, says Izuku. All Might's grin widens. When did his smile look like that? It wasn't supposed to feel that way. I'm not falling for that bluff, says All Might. Izuku pulls out his 6-shooter and aims at All Might. Don't come closer. Did his voice always sound that high? All Might takes a step forward. I said stop, says Izuku. Put the gun down, young man, says All Might as he takes another step forward. Bang, holy shit, he just shot All Might in the face. All Might didn't flinch, he didn't even move. Good shot. Right in the forehead. I get it. You don't want this. This is gonna sound meaningless, but I always hate arresting minors, but you do have a body count, so I've gotta do it. I'm still sorry, says All Might. If you hate it, then don't come closer, says Izuku. I've heard plenty of heroes are having trouble with you. Even if I feel bad, I can't leave my co-workers out to dry like that, says All Might. Izuku jumps away. All Might's already in front of him. Again and again and again. Young man, please, says All Might. Izuku fires the other 5 shots in his 6-shooter. All Might isn't hurt at all, he just looks sad. Did his legs just get bigger? He's leaning forward a little. Duck. Izuku bends over backwards as All Might's fist barely passes over his head. The wind pressure from the swing sent him onto another rooftop. All Might was about to move again. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Wait. Wait. Are you stopping? Asks Izuku. Are you turning yourself in? Asks All Might. Hear me out. Come here, says Izuku. All Might comes over. Izuku immediately punches him in the face. He still doesn't move. Izuku really should drink more blood. All Might punches him in the stomach and sends him onto another rooftop again. Izuku struggles to get up. Even All for One had never hit him that hard. Please stop, says All Might. Izuku just stares at him. He hangs his head down low. He puts his hands out for All Might to cuff. He felt terrible. He felt sick. He feels nasty for doing this. As All Might is about to cuff him, Izuku sucker punches All Might in his weak spot. All Might groans in pain and Izuku hits him again. All Might drops to his knees, coughing. Izuku had never ran faster in his whole life. He honestly felt like he was going faster than Ingenium could run. It wasn't fast enough. He got knocked down as soon as he landed on another building. All Might pinned his arm behind his back and put all of his weight down on him. Stop resisting, shouts All Might. Izuku had honestly never heard him mad. Izuku swung back with his free arm, but it hardly even moved him. Alright, last-ditch effort time. Izuku turned his necklace into his axe and swung it at All Might. All Might got off him. Izuku scrambled to his feet. Whoa. All Might was cut right in the shoulder. How sharp was his axe? Did it always look like that? Its guitar features were gone. The blade looked bigger. Izuku swung at All Might, who dodged nearly effortlessly. All Might hit him again. He landed on a bridge over a fast lake. All Might was right behind him. Izuku ran again, but All Might grabbed his leg and Izuku hit his face on the road. Izuku turned and tried to kick All Might in the weak spot again, but he blocked. Izuku made eye contact with him. When did All Might get so damn scary? Izuku lifted his axe to swing again. All Might put his arm over his weak spot, only Izuku didn't go for the weak spot, he slashed his own leg clean off. Looking back on it, he knows that was probably a bad choice to make, but it definitely made All Might freeze up. Izuku crawled away, but of course he couldn't get away like that. All Might pinned him under his arm. He reared his arm back. Shit, he was gonna go for the knockout. Izuku didn't focus on his hands, he focused on his eyes. Doing this hurt All Might, but not as much as it was gonna hurt him. I'm sorry, says All Might. Izuku barely cranes his neck enough to get him out of the way. The ground beneath them cracked. So did the bridge's foundation. That much power had to backfire on him sometimes. This was one of those times, as they both fell into the water below, along with a chunk of the bridge. It wasn't too big of a deal for All Might. For Izuku, on the other hand, who gets burnt by running water the way one would be by acid, it was a very big deal. Izuku screamed in pain when he hit the water. He scrambled to the side of the lake and pulled himself up and out of the water. His regeneration was shot before he could get his leg back. He tried crawling away. If he could make it to the trees by the river, he could turn into a bat and fly away. There was no way All Might could keep track of him there. It didn't matter how fast he is if he couldn't see him. But of course with his luck he saw All Might's shadow looming over him as he started to crawl towards the trees. He flips onto his back and glares at All Might. Blood blurs his vision. His forehead must have been cut. Rebar was stuck through his mostly intact leg. Maybe he could talk his way out of it. He's really fucked here. Maybe he could distract him for a minute. "You remember this axe?" asks Izuku. "I do," says All Might. "Kinda funny you're gonna be the death of both of us," says Izuku. "I didn't mean to get him killed and you're not dying here," says All Might. "Too bad. 'Cause you did get him killed. All to kill one guy. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not even sure All for one is dead," says Izuku. All Might frowns. That shook him. That shook him good. Izuku grabbed dirt and threw it into his eyes. When All Might got the dust out of his eyes, Izuku was already flying through the trees. He got away but just barely. He made it back home. And he lost his keys. They were probably swept down the river. Damn shame. Izuku bangs on the door. He bangs again. Still nothing. He's laying on the floor with two useless legs and nobody could even open the damn door for him. "Dabi, open the damn door," shouts Izuku. "Man, what's your damage?" asks Dabi as he opens the door. "Where are you?" Dabi steps forward. Right onto Izuku's busted ribs. "Fuck," says Izuku. "Oh shit, my bad," says Dabi. "Could you drag me to the couch?" asks Izuku. "Sure man." "What even happened to you?" asks Dabi. "I fought All Might," says Izuku. Dabi stares at him, slack-jawed. "Are you okay?" asks Dabi. "I cut my own damn leg clean off not 20 minutes ago. I'm pretty damn sure I'm not okay," says Izuku. "Alright, that was a pretty dumb question. That was my bad," says Dabi. "It sure as hell was," says Izuku. "What's all the hubbub?" asks Toga. "Holy crap. What happened to you?" "I got all mighted," says Izuku. "You good?" asks Toga. "You blind?" asks Izuku. "My bad," says Toga. "I can't do a whole lot of walking right now, so why don't you come over here?" says Izuku. Toga walks over and Izuku kisses her thigh. He couldn't reach much higher. Toga smiles down at him. "You look pretty from down here," says Izuku. Toga notices the only times Izuku is super affectionate is when he's upset about something, but she wouldn't mention it. "You look good from any angle," says Toga. "Well, so do you, but this angle does wonders for you," says Izuku. "Not to bother you too, but do you need something for that leg?" asks Dabi. "Bring me whiskey," says Izuku. "Sure, here you go, big man," says Dabi. "Would you mind cauterizing this for me?" says Izuku. "It's cool if you don't want to touch it. I could do it myself. It's cool. I've looted burnt corpses. This isn't the worst thing I've touched," says Dabi. Wow, that hurt like hell, but Izuku kept his composure. "Are you okay?" asks Eri. "When did she get here?" "I'll be fine. I'm just a little torn up. It'll grow back," says Izuku. "Eri, maybe you should go to your room for a minute," suggests Dabi. "It's fine. Eri, you've seen worse than this, haven't you?" asks Izuku. Eri nods yes. "See, it's fine. She can do what she wants," says Izuku. "Well, I'm gonna go lie down for a while," says Izuku as he starts crawling over to the stairs. "Buddy, I could help you out a little," says Dabi. "It's cool. Stupid Dabi. I'm ballin'," says Izuku. Dabi and Toga make eye contact, nod and carry Izuku to his bedroom. He wasn't gonna patrol in broad daylight anytime soon. Chapter 49. Take a swan dive off the roof, take a swan dive off the roof, take a swan dive off the roof. Izuku hates being bedridden. Normally he's always doing something. He's always fighting or working around the house. He even hustles for grins sometimes if he really needs something to do. Now he's just stuck. It doesn't help that he doesn't need to sleep too often. He's been laying in bed just barely paying attention to whatever it is he's watching. He has had a little bit of fun writing some songs. They were about Toga. They were cute and romantic and she'd probably love them. Oh, Dobby just came in. Hey man. How you holding up? Asks Dobby. I'm doing alright. I wish I could do stuff. Says Izuku. For sure. I hate being stuck with my own thoughts. It's why I'm high so often. Says Dobby. Keep preaching the good message, brother. Says Izuku. What you been thinking about anyways? Asks Dobby. Take a swan dive off the roof. Take a swan dive off the roof. Not much. How about you? Asks Izuku. Just the same depressing shit. Actually, you might feel me on this one. You ever feel uncomfortable in your own skin? Like not just with your body but with yourself? But mostly with your body. Says Dobby. You calling me ugly? Asks Izuku. No. I was just Dobby. I get it. I was messing with ya. No, I actually sort of feel that. Right, 'cause I was a human not too long ago. It's kinda weird. I was super short and I was really skinny. Says Izuku. You're still skinny. Says Dobby. Yeah, but I've got some muscle now. I used to be. How do I word this? I was kind of a twink. Well, that might not be the best choice of words, but it's not exactly inaccurate. Says Izuku. You're still not that big. Says Dobby. Sure, 'cause it's been a while since I've drank. After I drink I get big then shrink back down the longer I go without drinking. It's gradual so it's hard to notice, but 3 days ago I was big as hell. Says Izuku. Now that you mention it I know what you mean. Says Dobby. How about the mental aspect of not feeling yourself? I mean, Ruby told me that vampires aren't instinctively bad people. I don't know why, but I think she's wrong. I get bad thoughts. I didn't before, but I do now. Like vengeful thoughts, you know? People called us monsters for a reason, I guess. You get any vengeful thoughts? Asks Izuku. Dude? Says Dobby. Yeah. That's my bad, of course you'd know. You okay with all that? Asks Izuku. Yeah, I'm fine. Naturally, now that you mention it I could be a little better, but it's cool. I kinda follow my siblings around, sometimes. You know, just checking up on them. Is that weird? Asks Dobby. Normally yeah. But they're your family so I'm not too sure. Probably not. Says Izuku. How are they doing anyways? One's off in college. The other is staying around the house. I still don't know where mom is. I think dad's still kicking Shadow's ass. I'ma get him out of there someday. Says Dobby. If I tried to fight Endeavor, would you help me? Yeah. But I mean, he's the number 2 hero. Says Izuku. No, I get it. I get it. Says Dobby. I could get Stain if you really wanted. He's always down for stuff like that. Says Izuku. Yeah, he'd probably help. Have you been watching the news? Asks Dobby. No, why? Asks Izuku. People know you got away from All Might. Endeavor normally doesn't say anything, but this time he said he'd succeed where All Might failed. Says Dobby. I'll be fine. I got away from All Might. I can get away from Endeavor. Says Izuku. Was All Might hesitant about fighting you? Asks Dobby. A little. Replies Izuku. Endeavor won't be. Says Dobby. I know, but I'll be fine. Says Izuku. It's not just him looking for you. Says Dobby. Miruko, Hawks, even some less known heroes are forming groups to look for you. They probably won't even find me. Says Izuku. Probably not. Just be careful. Says Dobby. You know me. I'm a cautious person. Says Izuku sarcastically. Knock knock knock. Dobby, could you get that? Asks Izuku. Sure. Says Dobby before answering the door. Hey Grin, how you been? Asks Izuku as soon as he sees who it is. Apparently, better than you. Says Grin. I hear you fought the big man. Thought's an overstatement. It sort of felt like muscular all over again, but this time we both left in better condition. Says Izuku. Good to see you're still alive this time around. Says Grin. All Might isn't a killer. Usually. Says Izuku. Well, that's enough about that. I've finally got a little bit of good news in your life. Says Grin. It's about damn time. What do you have for me? Asks Izuku. A special piece of paper. Says Grin as he hands him the paper. Did you put an extra 0 on this? Asks Izuku. Nope. It was that interview with President Mick. People are listening to you and we're making money. Like serious money. Now, I don't want to put too much pressure on you, but have you been working on songs or maybe other instruments or anything? Asks Grin. I've got new songs and I even discovered a new vampiric power. Says Izuku. Which is? Asks Grin. I can pick up a new instrument in 3 days tops. I learned how to play the ukulele. I've been having a lot of fun with that. Says Izuku. That's great. Now I want you to know, I'm a very greedy man. So I'm gonna push this and we're gonna get rich. Also I'm gonna bring a new guy on board. He can clone you so you can do live performances. I've gotta get a permit to use the quirk in public, but it'll pay off. Says Grin. Well, I didn't start this for money. But I'm not gonna lie. I'd like to have a little more dough in the bank. Says Izuku. That's the spirit. And I don't usually do this, but I think you could actually be a star and make me some big bucks. I got you a present. Says Grin. Oh, what did you get me? Asks Izuku. Dabi carry Izuku outside. He's gonna love this. Says Grin. Now I'll admit it's sort of an investment on my part, but it's still yours. Man, I'm kinda excited. Why couldn't you bring it in? Says Izuku. At this point in the conversation, Grin had opened the door and Dabi took him outside. Izuku gasped loudly. Holy hell, Grin. You got me a van? I've always wanted a van. I could take us on a road trip. It'd be tight as hell. Dabi let him see the side. Says Grin. Holy shit, my name is on this van. That's the coolest shit. Says Izuku. It was a black van. It kinda looked like the A-Team van, but the red highlights were a dark forest green and in the same color. Izuku's full name was on the side. As soon as my leg grows back, I'm taking it out for a ride. Says Izuku. Hey, you're kinda heavy, can I take you back inside? Asks Dabi. Yeah, drop me on the couch. Says Izuku. Sure thing, boss. Replies Dabi. So how are those songs coming along? Asks Grin. Dabi lays Izuku on the couch. Pretty good. I got a couple done. Says Izuku. What genre? Asks Dabi. I wrote them about Toga. Says Izuku. That's cute. Says Grin. One of them is a duet. So I'd like to get her on stage. Says Izuku. It's a duet? Asks Grin. Yeah. One night me and Toga stayed up until like 3 just talking about what we like about Ecother. We do cute shit like that sometimes. I took some of the things she said and I put it into a song. One of the things she mentioned was she likes it when I sing to her, so I wrote a couple songs or found songs I could do covers of that feel right to sing to her. Says Izuku. And they say chivalry is dead. Says Dabi. I'm no historian, but I think chivalry was more about stabbing people. Says Izuku. Huh. That's kinda neat. Replies Dabi. So about the van. I'd like you to take it to concerts and stuff. Use it for your instruments and whatever. It's like a symbol of status having a pimped show van. Says Grin. We big flexin' with them Midoriya mobile. Says Izuku. On God. Agrees Dabi. Well, that's all I have to say or do here. Actually no, it isn't. Here are your keys. Alright, now I'm gonna go back to swindling. See you later. Says Grin. Before you go. Says Izuku. Why do you have ties into the local and large-scale music community? That's actually a pretty fun question for me to answer. Sometimes when I find Someone who's down on their luck, I convince them that they have talent and then I make them supply me with money to make them a star. All of the people I do this with suck usually. Some get a little successful, but you could actually be successful. In fact, you're already more successful than like anybody I've ever taken in. Says Grin. So you just tell talentless people you can make them a star, and take their money? Asks Izuku. Yeah, it's actually kinda funny. One time this guy caught onto what I was doing and tried to kick my ass, but I talked him out of it and said I had a perfect beat for him. He took it. He actually took the bait. He had me completely figured out and I still scammed that poor bastard even further. Funniest shit I've ever done. Says Grin. Grin, that's fucking awful. Says Izuku. I know, but I'm getting paid. Says Grin. Man, get out of my house. Says Izuku, but he's not actually mad and Grin knows this. I'll be seeing you later. Says Grin. Fuck out of here. Says Izuku. So what now? Asks Dabi. Take me to my bedroom. Says Izuku. Dabi sighs profusely and carries Izuku all the way upstairs and to his bed. I'm gone, man. Says Dabi as he heads back downstairs. Well, here Izuku is back where he started, except now he has a cool van to look forward to. What to do now? Ring ring ring. Well, that's something to do. It's Bikagu? The hell is he calling for? Well, here goes nothing. What's good, ass face? Asks Izuku. Not much. What's up with you? Comes Mitsuki's voice. Oh. Hi Mitsuki, how've you been? Asks Izuku. Pretty good. Hearing you call me ass face was kinda funny. Says Mitsuki. Yeah, that's my bad, I thought you were your son. Says Izuku. Nah, it's cool. Katsuki didn't wanna call you himself, but there's something I wanted him to ask you. Says Mitsuku. What might that be? Asks Izuku. Would you mind going to that school party thing with Katsuki? He's not good at making friends and I want him to spend more time with people, so I'm making him go. But I didn't want to make him go alone, so I decided to ask you. Says Mitsuki. I'ma keep it real with you. I'll go, but the kids at that school are full of shit and I hate them. Says Izuku. Why? Asks Mitsuki. There. Hey, you won't tell my mom if I use some harsh language, will you? Asks Izuku. Nah. Say what you gotta say. Says Mitsuki. They're little bitches. They always try to mess with me for not having a quirk, but if I ran up to them, they'd pussy out. Says Izuku. You know, I'm not really used to you being aggressive. It's cool though. I'm glad you're standing up for yourself. Says Mitsuki. Me too. Says Izuku. Hey, does my son give you any trouble? 'Cause if he does, I'll bop him on the back of the head. Says